What if I told you the key to protecting yourself against dementia is already within your grasp, and it doesn't involve expensive medication or complicated procedures? What if the most effective preventative methods are available to every single one of us right now? Hello! Today we're going to dive into the 20 most actionable pieces of advice from the world's leading neurologists. This isn't just textbook theory. These are the very rules these experts follow themselves to keep their minds sharp well into deep old age. And be warned, some of these tips might genuinely surprise you. Think it's all about solving a few crosswords? Well, you'd be mistaken. Stick around until the very end of this video to find out what truly works and what's simply a myth. But first, let's take a very simple look at what dementia actually is. It's not one single specific illness. Think of it more like a big umbrella, sheltering a whole group of symptoms linked to the decline of brain function. The best-known symptom, of course, is memory loss, but it can also include difficulties with speech, thinking, spatial awareness, and even changes in behaviour. Alzheimer's disease is the most frequent cause of dementia, but it is certainly not the only one. And the most crucial takeaway here is this: while a magic cure for dementia doesn't yet exist, we can do a great deal to significantly lower our risk, or indeed, slow the progression of the disease. Prevention is our greatest strength, and the science absolutely backs this up. So, let's move on to the practical steps recommended by the doctors themselves. Right then, the first and perhaps the most enjoyable tip is to switch over to a Mediterranean way of eating. Doctors and nutritionists the world over are absolutely unanimous about how beneficial this routine is for the brain. And that's not just a load of hot air. Extensive studies show that people who stick to this routine have a significantly lower risk of developing cognitive issues. So what does this actually look like? Picture a plate absolutely bursting with colourful vegetables, fruits, whole grains, pulses, and nuts. The main source of fat isn't butter, but rather high-quality, cold-pressed olive oil, which is packed full of antioxidants. You get your protein primarily from fish, especially the oily varieties like salmon or sardines, which are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, as well as from poultry. Meanwhile, red meat and sweets appear on the table very sparingly, perhaps like rare guests at a special gathering. This way of eating really tackles inflammation and oxidative stress in the body, the two major culprits when it comes to the health of our neurons. It's not a strict diet, mind you, but more of a sustainable lifestyle that feeds your brain everything it needs to thrive. For instance, why not start by swapping your usual white loaf for wholemeal bread and always adding a handful of nuts and a good glug of olive oil to your salad? The next crucial piece of advice, the one you will find in every single doctor's recommendation, is regular physical activity. And don't worry, we are certainly not talking about training to become an Olympic champion. It is much, much simpler than that. Doctors suggest we aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise every week. That works out to a very manageable 30 minutes, 5 days a week. So, what counts? A brisk walk, swimming, cycling, dancing, anything that gets your heart pumping a little faster and makes you slightly short of breath. What is the secret? When you move, you improve circulation throughout your whole body, and crucially, that includes your brain. Your neurons receive a healthier supply of oxygen and nutrients, which helps them stay active and healthy. On top of that, exercise stimulates the production of special proteins. These proteins encourage the growth of new nerve cells and new connections between them. This literally helps your brain stay young and flexible, or plastic as the experts call it. Plus, physical activity is one of the very best antidepressants and a superb way to combat stress, which, as we will discuss later, is another major enemy of our brain health. Just imagine that simple daily stroll in the park is actually your most valuable investment in a sharp, clear mind for the future. Let's now talk about what the doctors refer to as the silent killer: high blood pressure. So many people don't even realise they have a problem until, sadly, it's too late. Yet high blood pressure, or hypertension, is one of the biggest risk factors we face when it comes to developing dementia. Why is that the case? Well, picture your brain as a complicated network built entirely of tiny, tiny blood vessels. When the pressure is constantly too high, those vessels get damaged. Their walls lose elasticity, becoming stiff and brittle. This disrupts the normal blood flow to the brain, which can lead to silent or mini strokes, and eventually the gradual death of nerve cells. That's why neurologists strongly advise that we all check our blood pressure regularly, particularly once we pass the age of 40. If your readings are consistently higher than, say, 140/90, that's a serious signal that you need to book an appointment to see your GP. Modern medicines are highly effective at controlling that pressure and protecting those vital vessels. This is one of those times where taking just one small tablet a day could quite literally save your brain from destruction. Further down the line, please don't ignore this advice because the health of your vessels is truly the health of your mind. When we talk about managing blood pressure, checking your blood sugar levels always goes hand in hand. Sadly, type 2 diabetes and dementia often go hand in hand. Some scientists have even started calling Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes or diabetes of the brain. The connection here is very direct and quite serious. Consistently high blood glucose levels cause chronic inflammation throughout the entire body and damage our blood vessels, including those vital ones that feed the brain. Furthermore, diabetes often leads to insulin resistance. This is when our cells stop responding properly to insulin. Now, insulin in the brain performs crucial functions related to learning and memory. When this process is disrupted, our cognitive abilities suffer too. So what can we do about it? Doctors advise that first and foremost, we limit our intake of simple carbohydrates, things like sugar, white flour products, and sugary drinks. Secondly, maintain a healthy weight and stay physically active, something we've touched upon previously. And thirdly, make sure you regularly check your blood glucose levels, whether it's preventing diabetes entirely or managing it properly if you already have the diagnosis. This is the most powerful tool we have in the fight for better brain health. Let's talk about nighttime. Getting good quality sleep isn't a luxury, you know. It's absolutely vital for keeping your brain in top shape. While you're asleep, your brain isn't resting. It's actually busy doing a thorough spring clean. Your brain has a special plumbing system, known as the glymphatic system, which mainly kicks into gear during deep sleep. It literally washes away toxic proteins from your brain tissue. This includes something called beta amyloid, the buildup of which scientists link directly to the development of Alzheimer's disease. If you consistently miss out on sleep, this waste starts to accumulate, causing inflammation and damaging your precious neurons. So, how much sleep do we actually need? Most doctors agree that for adults, 7 to 9 hours a night is the sweet spot. It's not just the quantity that matters though, it's the quality too. Try to keep a consistent bedtime and wake-up schedule. Crucially, your bedroom should be kept dark, quiet, and comfortably cool. Avoid using gadgets right before bed, as the blue light from screens interferes with the production of melatonin, that all-important sleep hormone. Remember, every night of sound sleep is essentially a deep cleansing detox session for your brain. It truly isn't something you should neglect. This piece of advice may not come as a surprise, but its importance simply cannot be overstated. We are, of course, talking about giving up smoking. Every single doctor, from your cardiologist to your neurologist, will tell you that cigarettes are pure poison for the entire body, and the brain is absolutely no exception. Smoking delivers a double whammy. Firstly, it directly damages your blood vessels, which encourages the development of atherosclerosis. This narrows your arteries and restricts the flow of blood to the brain, starving it of essential oxygen and vital nutrients. Secondly, tobacco smoke is packed with a huge number of toxins that trigger severe oxidative stress. This is a process where free radicals attack and destroy your cells, including those precious neurons. Research clearly shows that smokers face a 50 to 70% higher risk of developing dementia, Alzheimer's disease in particular, compared to non-smokers. The good news is, it is genuinely never too late to stop. The moment you stub out that last cigarette, your body immediately begins repairing itself, and the risks to your brain health steadily decline. Frankly, quitting smoking is the very best thing you can possibly do for your future. Right, let's move on to a subject that often sparks debate: alcohol. What exactly is its role when it comes to the health of our brains? The medical consensus on this has become much stricter. Where once we heard whispers about the potential benefit of a single glass of red wine, the vast majority of experts now agree there is simply no safe level of alcohol consumption. This is especially true concerning regular or excessive drinking. Alcohol is a powerful neurotoxin. That means it's a substance that directly poisons our delicate nerve cells. Long-term abuse can actually lead to the shrinkage of the brain, particularly in areas crucial for memory and thinking, such as the hippocampus. Furthermore, alcohol interferes with the body's ability to absorb B vitamins, particularly thiamine. A deficiency in thiamine can lead to severe cognitive problems. So, what do the doctors recommend? Well, ideally, the best option is total abstinence, to cut out alcohol completely. If that isn't feasible for you, then the advice is to drastically reduce your intake to the absolute bare minimum. Please forget the idea of having a daily glass for your health. That is a dangerous myth that could truly cost you your mental clarity. The simple truth is, the less alcohol in your life, the healthier your brain will be. We are social beings, aren't we? Our brains are literally built for communication. That's why the 8th piece of medical advice is this: keep that social life active. Being isolated and lonely is a proven risk factor for developing dementia. When we interact with others, our brains are working flat out. Think about it. We have to listen, understand, analyze information, formulate our own replies, and even read all those subtle non-verbal cues. It's a complex cognitive workout. Fantastic training for those brain cells. Those social connections build what doctors call your cognitive reserve. Think of it as your brain's backup supply, or its safety net, helping it resist age-related changes and illnesses for longer. So, what can we do? Make sure you regularly catch up with friends and family, join a club, take up volunteering, or maybe sign up for a few local lectures or courses. Even simple chats with your neighbours or the shop assistant make a difference. The main thing is not to shut yourself away. Good old human interaction is one of the most enjoyable and yet most effective ways to keep your brain feeling sharp. Make the most of it. Our brains possess a simply incredible feature, something called neuroplasticity. It's essentially the brain's ability to change and rewire itself, constantly forming new neural connections right throughout our lives. And the very best way to stimulate this vital process is by continuously learning something new. This brings us to our 9th piece of advice. Consistently challenge your mind. Whether you're taking up a foreign language, learning a musical instrument, mastering a new digital skill, or even just tackling a complex new cooking recipe, all of these activities force your brain to forge entirely new neural pathways. It's vital that the task is genuinely new to you and challenging enough to require real concentration and effort. Routine, automatic actions simply won't have the same effect. When you engage in deep learning, you activate numerous areas of the brain: memory, attention, logical thinking, and even coordination. Think of it as strength training for your cognitive muscles. Please don't ever assume that it's too late to start learning. Your brain retains its superb capacity for education and growth, regardless of your age. Find something that genuinely interests you and make it your rewarding new hobby. Your brain will certainly thank you for it, and it remains the very best preventative measure against cognitive aging. Carrying on with the subject of keeping our minds sharp, doctors often single out reading. It might seem like such a straightforward everyday pastime, but as it turns out, it's a truly intricate process for the brain. When you read, you're not just recognizing letters and words. Your mind is decoding symbols, creating vivid images, tracking the narrative, analyzing characters' motivations, and engaging both your imagination and emotional intelligence. It's a comprehensive workout that touches upon virtually every cognitive function we possess. Research consistently shows that people who maintain a regular reading habit throughout their lives have a significantly lower risk of developing conditions like dementia. The good news is that it genuinely doesn't matter what you choose to read, whether it's a great work of fiction, a complex scientific article, or a historical biography. The process itself is what truly counts. Reading also helps us maintain and enrich our vocabulary, which is another excellent marker of a healthy, active brain. Try to make reading a part of your daily routine. Even a dedicated 15 or 20 minutes before bedtime can bring enormous benefits. It is perhaps the most accessible and pleasant way to invest in your long-term cognitive health and future well-being. Naturally, we must start with what first springs to mind when we discuss brain training, and that's the wonderful world of games and puzzles, crosswords, Sudoku, chess, jigsaw puzzles, and tricky logic problems. They are all excellent tools for keeping the grey matter sharp. What's the benefit exactly? They force us to concentrate, apply logic, engage in strategic thinking, and improve our working memory. Every new challenge provides a little workout for the brain, helping keep it in tip-top condition. However, doctors and experts offer a crucial warning. Variety is absolutely key. If you spend decades tackling the same type of crossword, your brain eventually gets too accustomed, essentially running the task on autopilot. When that happens, the training effect seriously diminishes, so make a conscious effort to alternate your mental exercises. Try Sudoku today, perhaps a game of chess tomorrow, and then maybe tackle a complex jigsaw puzzle the day after. By doing this, you stimulate different areas of the brain and engage a wider range of cognitive skills. And finally, don't feel you have to rely solely on expensive or complex brain training apps. Simple time-tested games are often just as effective, if not more so. We often hear that modern life is incredibly stressful, and most of us just accept it as the status quo. However, for our brains, chronic stress is truly toxic. When we are constantly tense, our bodies produce the hormone cortisol. Short-term, cortisol is useful. It helps us mobilize and react. But persistently high levels in the bloodstream are devastating for the brain. The hippocampus suffers particularly badly. This is the area critical for forming new memories and learning. Cortisol can literally kill neurons in this vital zone. That is why the doctor's 12th piece of advice is simple. Learn to manage your stress. Find the relaxation techniques that work best for you personally. This could include meditation, mindfulness practice, deep breathing exercises, yoga, walking in nature, or simply listening to soothing music. The key is to make these practices a regular part of your daily life, rather than only turning to them in moments of acute crisis. Learning to switch off and quiet those worrying thoughts is not a luxury. It is an essential skill for preserving your cognitive health for years to come. By protecting yourself from stress, you are fundamentally protecting your memory. This piece of advice might seem surprising, but recent research strongly confirms its importance. Protect your hearing. Hearing loss, even if it's slight, is now recognized as one of the most significant risk factors for developing dementia as we age. How are they connected? Well, there are a few key theories. Firstly, when your hearing is poor, your brain has to dedicate far too much energy simply to deciphering speech and sounds. It essentially steals those valuable resources away from other essential cognitive functions like memory and critical thinking. The brain is constantly working overtime. Secondly, deteriorating hearing often leads directly to social isolation. People find it difficult to participate in conversations and tend to withdraw. And as we know, avoiding social interaction is incredibly damaging to our cognitive health. Thirdly, the lack of continuous auditory stimulation can actually lead to the atrophy or shrinking of the brain regions responsible for processing sound. So, what can we do? Avoid prolonged exposure to loud noise, and make sure you use protective equipment, earplugs or specialized headphones when operating noisy machinery. But most importantly, do not ignore potential hearing issues. If you notice your hearing starting to decline, see your GP immediately and get a full checkup. Modern hearing aids don't just restore the sounds of the world around you, they are now considered a crucial tool in the long-term prevention of dementia. In recent years, you hear more and more talk about the so-called gut-brain axis. This is a two-way communication line between our digestive system and our central nervous system. The health of your gut microbiome directly impacts your mood, your behavior, and it turns out, your cognitive function. So here is tip number 14. Take good care of your gut health. A healthy microbiome helps keep inflammation in check throughout your body. And chronic systemic inflammation, as we know, is a key underlying factor in the development of many serious conditions, including Alzheimer's disease. What exactly does your gut need to thrive? First and foremost, a diet rich in fibre, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes. These are all the foods that nourish your beneficial bacteria. Fermented foods are also highly useful. Natural yogurt, kefir, and even sauerkraut, they deliver those valuable life probiotics straight to your system. Conversely, excess sugar and highly processed foods feed the bad bacteria and actively harm your health. Thus, every time you choose food for your belly, you are simultaneously making a critical choice for your brain. We've mentioned these already when discussing the Mediterranean diet, but omega-3 fatty acids truly deserve their own spotlight. These substances are absolutely vital building blocks for our brain. Essentially, the membranes, the outer layers of our nerve cells, are largely made up of these fats. Docosahexaenoic acid, or DHA, which is one key type of omega-3, is absolutely crucial for the proper communication between those nerve cells. On top of that, omega-3s are powerfully anti-inflammatory, and this helps protect the brain from damage as we get older. So, where do we find them? The very best sources are oily, deep-sea fish, such as salmon, mackerel, herring, and sardines. Doctors recommend we aim to eat fish at least twice a week. If you don't eat fish, good plant-based sources include flaxseed, chia seeds, and walnuts. However, the body doesn't absorb these plant-based omega-3s as efficiently as those from fish. Therefore, in some instances, your GP might recommend an omega-3 supplement, but please, always talk to your doctor or a specialist first before starting any new supplement regime. Ensuring you include enough of these essential fats in your daily diet is a direct investment in the structural health and functional efficiency of your brain. Maintaining a healthy weight is yet another cornerstone of effective dementia prevention. Being overweight or obese, especially during middle age, significantly increases the risk of cognitive decline later in life. The issue here isn't simply the extra pounds themselves, but the metabolic imbalances that accompany them. Excess fat tissue, particularly around the stomach area, is a major source of chronic inflammation throughout the body. This tissue produces harmful substances that circulate in your bloodstream and can negatively affect the health of your brain. Furthermore, obesity is strongly linked to the other risk factors we've already discussed: high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and various vascular problems. Essentially, it creates a real vicious cycle. So, what exactly constitutes a healthy weight? You can use the body mass index, or BMI, as a guide. Ideally, your BMI should fall within the range of 18.5 to 25. Weight management isn't about exhausting restrictive diets. It's primarily about balanced nutrition and regular physical activity. In other words, it's about maintaining those healthy habits we've been highlighting throughout this entire video. This is a comprehensive, holistic approach that benefits your whole system, and your brain is certainly no exception. Now, this might sound terribly obvious, but it's a piece of advice that is often overlooked. It's simply this: protect your head from bumps and knocks. Traumatic brain injuries, even the ones that seem rather minor at the time, can have a lasting impact on your overall brain health. Every single injury, especially if it involves losing consciousness, increases the risk of developing dementia further down the line. A significant blow to the head can damage crucial nerve cells, cause internal bleeding, and trigger inflammatory processes that can sadly become chronic. That is why medical professionals urge us to exercise common sense prudence. Always wear your seatbelt in the car, naturally, and always put on a helmet when you're cycling, rollerblading, or skiing. Be particularly careful around the house. Clear away anything on the floor that could become a trip hazard, and make sure you use non-slip mats, especially in the bathroom. This focus is vital for older adults who are naturally at a higher risk of falls. Fall prevention is perhaps the most important element of head injury prevention in later life. By protecting your head from physical damage today, you are making an enormous investment in preserving your cognitive functions for decades to come. Often, the simplest safety measures turn out to be the most effective. Vitamin D is, rather fittingly, often called the sunshine vitamin, simply because our skin produces it when exposed to ultraviolet light. We have always associated it primarily with bone health, but recent research now shows it plays a crucially important role in brain function as well. Vitamin D receptors have been found across numerous areas of the brain, including those vital sections responsible for memory and cognitive thought. Scientists suggest that vitamin D helps regulate the growth of nerve cells. Crucially, it may also assist in clearing the brain of beta-amyloid plaques, those troublesome deposits so closely linked to Alzheimer's disease. A deficiency in this vitamin is surprisingly common, particularly here in the northern latitudes, and it's strongly associated with an increased risk of cognitive decline. So what do the doctors advise? Well, the main recommendation is to try and spend a bit more time out in the sun, but only, of course, during the safer hours. Ensure your diet includes foods rich in vitamin D. Think fatty fish, cod liver oil, and healthy egg yolks. Getting enough purely through diet can be a challenge, though. That's why it is worthwhile getting your vitamin D levels checked via a simple blood test. If necessary, and always on your GP's advice, you should start taking supplements in a sensible, recommended dosage. It's a straightforward step, but one that could bring immense benefits to your long-term brain health. Looking after your brain isn't just about the physical side of things. The psychological aspect is absolutely vital. The expert's advice is often the same. Maintain a positive outlook and always have a clear purpose in life. Research clearly shows that states such as long-term depression, apathy, and persistent cynicism are known risk factors for developing dementia. On the flip side, optimism and a strong sense of meaning actually offer a protective effect for the brain. In Japanese culture, there is a beautiful concept called ikigai. This is defined as what gives your life meaning, the very thing you look forward to that gets you out of bed every morning. Having this ikigai has been linked both to a lower risk of developing dementia and, encouragingly, a longer life expectancy. Why does this protective mechanism work? Quite simply, positive thinking and having a clear objective help us cope better with stress, motivate us to live healthier lives, and encourage us to maintain strong social connections. This combination creates a favourable psychological environment that truly promotes long-term brain health. So have a think. What brings you joy and satisfaction? It might be your work, a long-loved hobby, caring for loved ones, or perhaps volunteering. Find your true sense of purpose and stick with it. Your brain will undoubtedly thank you for it in the long run. And finally, for our 20th and summarising piece of advice, always get regular medical checkups. Prevention is always better than cure. Many of the dementia risk factors we've discussed, such as high blood pressure, elevated blood sugar, high cholesterol, and vitamin deficiencies, can remain completely hidden for a long time. The only way to spot these underlying issues is through routine tests and screenings. Regular visits to your general practitioner allow us to catch a potential problem at its earliest stage, when it is still easily corrected through simple lifestyle changes or minimal medical intervention. Don't wait for obvious symptoms to appear. Be proactive about your healthcare. Discuss your personal risk factors with your doctor, ask questions, and follow their recommendations closely. Taking responsibility for your general, Overall health is the most reliable strategy for preserving the health of your brain specifically. Remember, your body is one integrated system. Looking after your heart, your blood vessels, and your metabolism is essentially the same as looking after your sharp mind and memory for many years to come. Right, let's quickly summarize. As you can see, protecting our brains from dementia isn't about finding one magical pill or a miracle cure. It's a comprehensive approach rooted firmly in our daily lifestyle. Healthy eating, regular physical activity, quality sleep, keeping mentally and socially engaged, managing those chronic conditions, and cutting out harmful habits. These are the bedrock, the foundational pillars of a healthy brain. Crucially, all these steps are interconnected. They work together and reinforce one another. And remember, it is truly never too late to start. Every small step you take in the right direction today is a significant investment in your clear and conscious future. Thank you so much for watching this video right to the very end. I truly hope you found it useful. If you did, please do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our future discussions on health and longevity. Now, a quick question for you. Which of these 20 tips are you already applying in your daily life? Or perhaps, which one are you planning to start tomorrow? Do share your experiences in the comments below. I would be genuinely fascinated to read your stories.